Alright, hey, Hades Omega here, and this is the after-action review for the Northern Nevada Kart Club Supermoto races on, it was round 3, alright? So this is a championship, and it's kind of like a collaboration between the Shasta Supermoto Club in Redding and the Northern Nevada Kart Club in Reno. Okay, so they have a track up there called Desert Park Raceway. That's where it was, in Reno. It's like kind of northern Reno. You should go check it out, you know, it's pretty cool. And yeah, so this is the after action review for that. It took place on May 27 and 28. Okay, and I went there on the 26th, all right. The Friday, yeah, so it was Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The Friday before, I showed up and I did they had like a open practice all day. So you can show up at the track, hop on the track and practice, okay? And supposedly, I think you were supposed to pay $35 to do it, but I just hopped on the track. So okay. Anyway, yeah. So we went down there with the Rav4, and we took the KLX 140 or KLX 170 here, and then the Sauron Lightbeat. So here's what was supposed to happen. We were supposed to go there and race. I didn't know what races I was gonna do. I do know I was probably gonna do 65 GP. That's the race. I think 65 GP is up to 65 cc 2-strokes, and then up to 140 cc 4-stroke, or air-cooled 4-stroke. All right, so yeah, it's like a bike that literally the engine is half the size of the other engine, right? But one of them is a 2-stroke and one of them is a 4-stroke, right? And I usually race that one. I know that this bike is pretty much as fast as this bike, so I can race these in the same classes. So that's the class I would race this one in. Alright, and if you guys don't know what a 65 is, or like a KX65 or a KTM 65, it's a little teeny tiny 2-stroke dirt bike that they put like these little 12-inch wheels on, and they're very fast on a kart track, okay? They're very light, very maneuverable, and they got good power to weight ratio, especially if you're a little guy, okay? So yeah. And then I wanted to race in the adult mini races, okay? So they had a asphalt, yeah, so Saturday was asphalt racing, Sunday was supermoto racing. So they actually have a dirt section you can race in at Desert Park Raceway. We raced last year, and it was kind of a new dirt section that during Supermoto USA, and it was like really soft and powdery and hard to ride through. This one was much better. There was lots of berms. There was tabletops. Yeah, it was like very well improved since last year. Okay, and it was a lot easier and a lot more fun to ride, for sure. Okay, but we'll get to that when we get to the Sunday races. Yeah, this is kind of be like a long. This video is going to be more of like a play-by-play. All right, and then I'll kind of give you my idea on like ways that we could have improved, or things that I did to improve during the weekend, alright? Things that I did to set up the bike, all that stuff, alright? Yeah, but that's what an AAR is, alright? It's what we were supposed to do, what really happened, and things we could do to improve, or things we could do that we're doing well to continue doing, okay? So here's what was supposed to happen. We're supposed to show up Monday, and I got there around like 3 p.m. It takes about 4 or 5 hours to get to Reno from where I live in San Jose. So a little bit of a trek is what I'm going to say. So we go there. I set up the pit. Good thing it's summer is right around the corner, and the sun doesn't really get dark until 9 o'clock. So we got plenty of time to ride on the track. And another good thing is the weather. Okay, so I looked at the weather, and it says like scattered thunderstorms. Okay, the key word is scattered. Okay, so Reno's a kind of a big place, and it looked like to the south when I arrived there was like a lot of dark clouds, like storm clouds, and then where we were it wasn't so thing. All right, but it did rain a couple times on Friday when we arrived. All right, I got rained on once. I got rained on like maybe twice at the track, all right, and it actually hailed. Okay. Fun's over. Fun's over. So I got all my gear on. I think I take the KLX 140 out, all right, or KLX 170. I had just changed the rear tire on this bike. I installed a new Shinko Stealth rear tire, and I needed to scrub it in. So that was the main reason I took this. All right, and this is also I take it as a backup bike. Okay, so if something happens to the Suron or whatever, you know, like it's acting up, it's getting too hot or whatever, then I got another bike, and I can race these bikes in the same classes. So this truly is the backup bike. Like for the Horse Thief Mile, this bike wouldn't have lasted 10 laps on Horse Thief. The battery would just overheat, so we had to race this bike. Okay, unfortunately, but and it was rough on both of these bikes, Horse Thief Mile. All right, but anyway, we're not talking about Horse Thief Mile. We're at Desert Park Raceway. All right, this is a kart track. It's not a bigger track like Horse Thief Mile. All right, it's not. You don't really want to ride big bikes on this track because it's really tight and there's lots of turns. Desert Park Raceway is a pretty cool track. All right, there's a lot of it's got some interesting characteristics, like the grip on the surface. The surface is not. It's kind of like mixed. Sometimes you get good grip in some areas, and sometimes you get bad grip. So some places are kind of slick. There's some off camber turns where the bike doesn't want to turn. You're kind of like fighting the bike and stuff. And yeah, sometimes your bike will slip and slide. And there's just people like, yeah, they push it really hard, and you'll go down. And it's how brave you are to open that throttle, pretty much. Okay. Yeah, it's kind of unsettling riding there sometimes, is what I want to say. Another cool thing about Desert Park Raceway is it's got elevation changes. If you've been to kart tracks, most of the time it's just like in a big parking lot, maybe with a bunch of tires, or like at Sonoma, it's like a legit kart track with like berms and chicanes and all that stuff, but it's flat. All right, this kart track actually has a little bit of elevation. The beginning, yeah, pretty much the beginning part is like an uphill section, and then like the other half is like a kind of like a downhill section almost. And it's kind of got a mini corkscrew. Just like the corkscrew, you go up and it hangs a left right away, and it goes down for a few feet. Maybe it's probably like a 10-foot drop, where the corkscrew is like probably like a 30 or 40-foot drop or something. Okay, so that's why I call it a mini corkscrew. I believe it's called turn 5 or turn 6. Okay. Yeah, pretty rad. And so also this is going to be, so yeah, we had to scrub in the tires for this, and this is going to be the debut Supermoto race for the Suron Lightbee. All right, because remember, I didn't get to race this at Horse Thief Mile. All right, that was a Supermoto race, but only thing I got to do was practice with it. All right, and that was in a kart track. So this is our first time racing the Lightbee on a kart track with the KO Moto factory spec controller and motor. All right, and I knew if it could barely handle Horse Thief Mile, the Desert Park Raceway should not be a problem, right? And the weather was great. I have to say, sometimes the weather was in like the 70s. Was it like, yeah, it fluctuated a lot. The weather was like crazy. Sometimes it would be cold, like 60 degrees, and then sometimes it could get as warm as 80 degrees. Then sometimes it would rain, and it actually hailed while I was on the track. All right, that's when I called it. Okay, yeah. So anyway, first thing we did was we went out to go practice on the KLX just to scrub in the tires. I took it really easy. All right, where I was just putting around the track, trying to get my bearings. You know, since it's been about a year since I raced on that track. All right, and yeah, so. It was okay until it started raining. Okay, I think it started raining. All right, and then I was like, oh, it's getting a little slippery. Just be careful. And then I saw it hailing, and I'm like, oh, and then it hails even harder. I'm like, okay, I'm getting off the track now. So I just pulled off of the track, made sure all my stuff outside the stuff that I didn't want to get wet, you know, was covered. It's kind of tough, man. If it rains at the track and you don't got any cover. Yeah, fortunately I had a trailer and I could just throw stuff under the trailer, that I didn't want to get wet. So not too bad. And then we went out into Light B. All right, Light B did great. Yeah, I didn't have we didn't use the tire warmers that day for practice. All right, we just kind of hopped up on the track, do a lap or two before you really start to lay into it, you know. And I felt the Light B did great. One of the things I've been doing is trying to tune the suspension. I have it set in like a mixed riding setup, all right, according to the Dorado manual. All right, I've been reading the Dorado manual how to set up this fork, and I've kind of had it set up the wrong way the whole time. Okay, but it's set up for mixed riding. It's kind of like in the medium kind of thing. So that's kind of what we're doing. That's Supermoto. It's a mix of pavement and a mix of like kind of dirt biking. All right. I did, however, the week before we had motocross races and we had to jump the bike. And I noticed, hey, we're bottoming out a lot. You need to stiffen up the compression a little bit, man. So you want to ride this thing really soft when you're riding in really rough terrain, all right? We weren't riding in really rough terrain. So I increased the high-speed compression like 5 clicks from what it was before. And I think that was the sweet spot right there. It's stiff, and it's stiff enough where like it's not going to bottom out. And like you kind of do want it a little bit stiff on the Supermoto track, all right? But I felt the grip was really good. We're running the Dunlop Moto 3s. These are the same tires I had since last year, all right? They're still in great shape, so we still continue to run them. All right, the tires grip great. The KLX, oh my God. Sometimes I feel like I'm getting half the grip on the KLX than I am on the Light B. Obviously, these are full racing slicks, okay? These are just sport bike tires, all right? They're very good sport bike tires is what they are. And I have the back is a drag radial, all right? So it's a slick, but it's for drag racing, all right? It's not for the track. It's a really soft kind of for the drag strip type of tire, all right? Just to get you down the drag strip type of thing, which is perfect for a mini Supermoto is what I would say. But yeah, I felt that this bike, oh yeah, another thing is this bike didn't run very good, okay? It's a higher elevation, so we were at 5,000 feet, all right? Desert Park Raceway is about 5,000 feet. I mean, I don't remember. I didn't check the GPS, but somebody told me, Jeremy told me it was like 5,000 feet we were at. So that's pretty high. That's about the point where you want to go up on jetting. And the bike just didn't want to rev because it couldn't breathe. It was just so rich. So what I do when that happens on this bike is I take the airbox cover out so it can breathe a little more. And when I did that, the bike would rev more, all right? It still kind of runs a little wonky, but the good thing about this bike doesn't care about elevation, guys. So, and I'll talk about that at the end of the video, why I think this bike is so fast, all right? I felt like I had like half the grip on this bike than I did on this bike. This bike was just sliding all over the place. I'm like, oh. However, this has wider rubber, so I feel I guess when the tires will warm up, you'll feel a little more confident with it because you kind of got more rubber on the pavement, you know. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna say. It's kind of like a trade-off. The skinnier tires help you, you know, change direction faster. The wider tires give you like kind of more contact patch, more grip. All right, that's what I'm gonna say. All right, so yeah, so the first day was just practice, and the bike did great. What I did was we went out on the track and I tried to do 8 laps every time we went out on the Light B. We tried to do 8 laps to see if how it would respond to that. All right, and like I said, the weather, it wasn't that hot, so I was pretty sure that we could do 8 laps. All right, yeah, it was able to do 8 laps. We came in. I would check the temperature. Temperatures never get past a quarter on the controller, and they never get past. For practice, I would say it doesn't go past half, all right? Yeah, it didn't go past half the heat. So, man, this controller and motor combo is pretty impressive, is what I say, all right? And it's the battery. So another thing is that we have to make sure we don't overheat the battery. So that's why I wanted to go 8 laps to see if the bike could handle it, and no problem. It handled 8 laps, no problem. So I'm gonna say, so the reason I want to make sure it can handle 8 laps, all right, at race pace. Yeah, technically the first 2 laps aren't at race pace. We're still warming up the tires, but yeah, we did 8 laps and it handled it just fine. 6 for the heat race is 6 laps. 6 laps for the heat race, 8 laps for the main race. So that's why I did that. So now we know if I can do 8 laps, then we can do 6 laps, no problem, all right? So that's the case. So that means, yes, we're good to go. We can race the Light B, all right? That's thumbs up, all right? So sorry, buddy. I didn't race the KLX at all during the weekend. All we did was practice on the KLX, all right? Whenever this bike was resting or we needed to charge it or whatever, then we went out and practiced on this one, all right? And yeah, it's Old Faithful, man. It's good to get it out on the track too. I have just as much fun riding this bike as I do this bike. Of course, I have to shift with this bike. One thing I did do on this bike is besides taking the airbox cover out and putting the new tires on, the rear tire, I moved the shifter up 1 notch, all right? Because, was it what? No, I moved the shifter down 1 notch to make the shifter lower because I'm having such a hard time trying to hit that shifter to get it to shift. I have to go up on my foot to shift it. You shouldn't have to do that. You should just have to go like this, you know, just move your foot instead of scooping it up like that. I know the reason is because I have it set up for dirt bike boots, but I'm wearing street boots which are much thinner, all right? So that helped a whole lot, all right, the shifting. Another thing we were trying out on the Light B, all right, is, man, there's a dirt on this. I have a cramp buster here, all right? It's a kind of little paddle throttle, all right? I don't know if you guys can see it. There's a little paddle here that's connected to the throttle, the thumb throttle. The domino throttle, it hurts my wrist, all right? It hurts my wrist when I twist it a lot, all right? For longer races, I notice my wrist is getting sore, so I put the cramp buster on, and that fixes that problem. It gives me it takes less effort to twist the throttle. That's one of my gripes about the domino throttle, is it's stiffer to twist than the Sur-On throttle. The Sur-On throttle was so light, all right, and I liked it because it doesn't hurt my wrist. Like this one hurts my wrist a whole lot. I have to have the cramp buster on here. That's all I want to say. But anyway, yeah, so that's the scoop there. And then yeah, so the bike worked just great. And that was it for the practice. I think I did 2 practices on this, and I must have done I probably did two or 3 practices on this just to get the tires scrubbed in. And I think by the end of the weekend, the tires were scrubbed in, so they should be good to go now. The old tire on this was it was slipping and sliding all over the place. The last time I was racing with it, I was like, so I went and changed it. I got the tire on sale really cheap because it was made in like 2020 or something. It's 2023 now. Okay. Okay, yeah. So we did practice swapping batteries. So we would go out for 8 laps, and then I would go out on this. Then we would swap the battery pack on this, or I don't remember. Maybe I did do a back-to-back with this. Maybe we did 8 laps, and then I swapped the battery pack and went back out. The controller. All I can say is this controller and the motor are amazing. They can the punishment, the power that you can push through it, and it doesn't heat up that much. All right, the controller, I've never overheated this controller, never. All right, and the motor, it takes a lot. I have overheated this motor, but it takes a lot to overheat it. All right, you really have to torture it. All right, and this weekend would be the test for that. All right, because Hayes Mega signed up for back-to-back races, all right? I didn't know it was back-to-back, but I said, so I raced 2 races on Saturday and 1 race on Sunday. If you guys remember, Saturday is all the asphalt racing, all right? No dirt, all right? Sunday is the one with the dirt section, all right? It's the same thing, but there's a dirt section, so it's a longer track, and it's more fun in my opinion. Okay? Dirt is the great equalizer, all right? You gotta, to be a good supermoto rider, you got to be good on the pavement, and you got to be good in the dirt, all right? So you got to practice both, all right? Yeah, so what I did was I signed up for 65 GP, all right? Like I mentioned, that's a 65 cc 2-stroke and 140 cc 4-stroke, all right? You should be able to keep up with those bikes, all right? But if you guys know anything about a 65, all right, I don't know about the 140. The 140, I know this 140 is about as fast as the Light B, all right? Maybe the Light B is faster than it now, all right? But a 6.5 is fast, all right? When they get wound up, they're fast, all right? And when they get into the corners, they don't need to slow down a whole lot. You need to be able to have good corner entry speeds and corner exit speeds. All right, you have to be able to maintain your speed throughout the turn on the KX65. That's its greatest weapon, all right, because it can do that. All right, the Light B can kind of do that. It's very light, like a 65, but it compared to the handling on a 65 with those like 12s, we've kind of got a disadvantage on the pavement. All right, well, a 65 with a good rider is really hard to beat. That's what I want to say. Okay, they're no joke, dude. You think 65cc is not a lot, but it's a lot on the kart track. Okay. Yeah, even at Horse Thief Mile, we were getting our butt whooped by the 65s. Okay, so they're no slouch. Okay, so that's the 65 GP class, and then the next one that we signed up for is Asphalt Mini. All right, so that's any bike up to 230cc air cooled. All right, and I think 150cc water cooled. All right, so that's the one that the CRF 150Rs are in. All right, so that is like the cheater bike of choice. All right, 150R. If you want a fast mini bike, buy a CRF 150R. All right, you want to win races, buy CRF 150R. All right, they are fast. It is a bike designed to be fast. It is a race bike. All right, it's a dirt bike, but yes, it's a race bike. All right, when you put some freaking street tires on it, it becomes a track weapon. Okay, that's what I want to say. All right, and that is my like the nemesis bike for me. Okay, so yeah, so at Desert Park Raceway they use transponders. All right, the yellow box. Basically what I'll do is I'll stuff it in my boot. All right, we stuff it in my boot, and then I don't like put it on the bike or anything. I prefer to stuff it in the boot. All right, and stuffing it in your boot. If you're transitioning, like let's say you ride different bikes for different classes and stuff, it's better to stuff it in your boot, because you don't have to move it from one bike to another. All right, you just have to move yourself to the other bike because the transponder is on you. Okay. A disadvantage of the transponder being, I guess you could put the transponder closer to the front of the bike, so your times will be a little bit shorter. So I want to say, all right, let's say you're coming neck and neck. All right, you say your transponder is in the front, the other dude's transponder is on his boot. It's like in the middle of the bike, right? Well, you might cross the finish line before them. All right, so. But that would be you have to be very close race type of thing. Okay, so yeah, that's the two, Asphalt Mini and 65 GP. All right, so it's a race is a practice. All right, I think it's a 7-minute practice, a heat race which is 6 laps, and a main race which is 8 laps. All right, so and you don't do it. It's not like back to back type of thing. You do one, and then everybody else goes, and then you do it again, so you get a good break in between races, is what I want to say. However, unfortunately for Hades Mega, the races he signed up for, 65 GP and Asphalt Mini, were back-to-back, all right? So that means when there was one practice, you'd have to go out for practice again, all right? So one thing I neglected to think about was the practice is actually your qualifying for the grid, all right? Normally what let's say Supermoto USA, for example, what the order that you signed up for the race puts you on the grid. So if you signed up for the race early, then you could grid like number 1, all right, for the heat race, all right. But they use the practice as a qualifying. So what you do is they have the practice for 65 GP. You go out for 65 GP, you practice with all the other bikes that are in your class, and then so you try to get a good lap time in, all right. And so since you got a transponder, you can get a lap times, and the person with the fastest lap times gets gridded higher. All right, it's basically like a like Formula One or MotoGP or whatever. That's the way to do it. You do a qualifying round. Whoever has the fastest laps, they're higher on the grid. All right, they'll get a better shot in the beginning to win the races type of thing. Okay. So unfortunately, I kind of messed up. All right, so this is already one of the improves. All right, we're gonna do an improve later anyway. So next time, remember this, Hades Vega. They called Mini GP. All right, Mini GP is a lower class. There's lower bikes, and I was like, and I signed up for 65 GP, and I saw all the mini bikes, like the 150Rs and stuff. They were going out, and then. So they went out in the wrong class, and they kind of messed everything up, all right? And I went out with them. I was like, oh, well. I was like, whatever. It's just practice. It's not just practice, guys. It's actually a qualifying, all right? And then I skipped the 65 GP because I was like, I feel like I got enough practice. We'll go back out when the Asphalt Mini guys go out. That's the next one. So I waited. I let them do 65 GP practice, and then we went out and we did the asphalt practice, and the Asphalt Mini practice. And boy, when I was riding around, I was like, dude, there's just bikes just swarming me, passing me left and right. I'm like, man, I feel like these guys are really fast and we're gonna get our ass whooped here. Okay, type of thing. And I was like, you know, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of do that, man. These 150Rs, they're fast. It wasn't just 150Rs too. There was like Ovales, and I think there might have been KX65s. I can't remember, man. It was a whole slew of bikes. There's TTR 125s in this race too. So, yeah. So anyway, we got our times. Hades Omega didn't get times for 65 GP. So guess what? You get to, I told them like, hey, I didn't go out for the practice for 65 GP. And they're like, okay, well, you're just going to have to start in the back. I'm like, all right, whatever. That's fine with me. So I had to grid in the back for the heat race. All right, but I did get a time for the Asphalt Mini racers. I think I got, okay, for Asphalt Mini, I got 9th place, all right, with my best time was 1 minute and 1 second, all right, and .708. That gave me 9th place, all right, out of 13 riders, all right. It was quite a bit of bikes. There was a lot, 13 bikes on the grid. I don't think I've raced a race that big in a while, so that's awesome. And Asphalt Mini and Adult Mini, that is the most fun race, man. That's the one everybody, you know, is there and we're all battling. The more racers it is, the more chaos, but the more fun it is. That's the way I see it, man. So yeah, I got 9th. So that would mean I grid 9th in the heat race, all right? So 65 GP heat race finally comes up, all right? All these races, one after another. We're like in the middle of the race, you know, where the races are. And then so 65 GP heat comes up. We go around, do our warm-up lap, all right? And then I line up last, all right? I think last was like the 8th position, all right? They line us up. And then what we're supposed to, I'm gonna only go over for first, all right? The starting procedure is you line up on the grid, all right? So we lined up 8th, and we did a warm-up lap, line up 8th. You're supposed to take your hands off your handlebars, all right? Because there's the race director is out there and they don't want to get run over, all right? So they make sure they go around and they look at all the riders, make sure their bikes look okay. And then make sure that they know, like, hey, are you ready to race? Like, because sometimes people's bikes stall, and I'm not ready to race. I need to start my bike, you know. Well, Hades Omega doesn't have that problem. It's electric, you know. but like some people do. All right. Anyway, yeah. So that's why they don't want you to touch anything. All right. And then when they know everybody's ready to go, we give them a thumbs up. They exit the thing, and then so they tell them. So the way it works at Desert Park Raceway is they have a start light, okay? And so there's a guy in a tower, and then he hits a button or something. Red light goes on, all right? So it's like kind of like the reverse of drag racing. The red light goes on, that means get ready, all right? And then when the red light goes off, that's go, all right? So once you see the red light turn off, you go, and your race is on. Green flag goes up, all right? Boom, all right? Red light goes off. Boom, we go, and we just freaking whole shot, like everybody. Okay, so when the light turns red, we go. Oh boy, I hope I don't run this guy over in front of me, man. Right, here we go. When it goes off, go! I think, I don't quite get to the first position. I think I might have passed the first place guy, all right, the first position guy, and then as we were coming around the corner, I think he passed me, all right, and then I was behind him, and then I was following him the whole race, all right. None of those other 65s caught up to us, and this guy was fast. I think his name was Mark. He's Mark, and I've talked to him before. He's Mark. He rides at Dixon, all right, Dixon Kart Track. Oh, I've never been to Dixon before, but I heard he's a pretty good racer. Okay, and sure enough, he showed me that. I could not catch him. All right, guys. I couldn't even catch him on the straights. I couldn't catch him on the corners. I could hang with him, but he would just pull away a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time. He was just a little bit faster than me, all right? I was able to hang with him for probably 2 or 3 laps, and then, okay, yeah, his name was Mark, and he was bike number 620, all right? He was pretty fast, you know, props to him, man. It was amazing watching him ride. I remember even in the straights, you know, the Lightbee should have enough power to take a 65 going straight, but we would be neck and neck. Like he wouldn't pull. He would actually pull away from me a little bit, if I remember correctly. Watch the video anyway. But yeah, I couldn't even pull on him in the straights. So when a 65 gets wound up, all right. So I got the reason I can hole shot these 65s is because they're 65cc. They don't have a lot of torque, all right. But when they get wound up, all right, when it hits the power band, there's a lot of power. It's pretty fast. So when he's in his power band, just imagine it's making about the same power as a Lightbee, man. It's amazing. So or it can go as fast as a Lightbee. That's nuts because the Lightbee's pretty fast. Okay. So yeah, that's how we finished the race. Here's the results. Okay, so there were 7 in that class. I was so Junior, Mark Junior, 620. He was first place. All right, he was the guy in the black bike from Dixon. Then I came in second place. All right, and then there was Mia right behind me. She was riding a KX65. Ryan Evans, I think he was riding a Kayo. All right, and there's Corey Lennon, Samuel Berner, and then John Sarkis. Okay. But yeah, we got second place. I think because we were able to hole shot all the other bikes, we were able to get in front of everybody. But we had I remember, man, I don't know. Yeah, after like 2 or 3 laps, we already had a pretty big gap between us and the third place. All right, it was first place, then us in second place, and then for a little ways back was third and fourth place, and third and fourth place were kind of like battling it out. I've raced with them before, and they're pretty fast. All right, so give yourself a pat on the back. Hey, these are some pretty fast kids. All right, is what I'll say. Yeah, there were kids racing behind us. Okay, but they never caught us, is what I'll say. We had a pretty good lead on them, but I don't think we could have caught Mark. That guy was just all right. I think he got us. Let him go, let him go, let him go. Yeah, he got us on one of those turns. Okay, so that was the 65 GP heat race. Race is done. I told the person that was in charge of, you know, coordinating the race that, hey, I need like a minute to swap batteries because I got back-to-back races. I mean, honestly, and she was like, you know, I'll try to give you as much time as we can, but you have to be ready, like thing, you know. But they should accommodate back-to-back racers that they're racing back-to-back, especially if they need to switch a bike, you know. They should accommodate them. They should give you a few minutes, you know, to get a drink, you know. Imagine if it's hot out and you have to do back-to-back races. That's like doing like 2 races, you know, or one really long race. It's very tiring, all right, guys. Fortunately for the Lightbee, for me and the Lightbee, it doesn't take me a lot of effort to ride the Lightbee. That's the good thing compared to this bike, all right. This bike tires me out when I ride it because this one is so light. But anyway, so what we had to do was, since we had a good lead, so if we got second place, they had to wait for all the other riders behind us to come. So that gave me the time to go back in the pits, swap the batteries real quick. All right, so I go back in the pits. Takes about 1 or 2 minutes. We swap the battery. I got the battery ready to go in the pits. So that was the plan. We're gonna race one race, swap the batteries. All right, and then go back out for the heat race. All right. And so also the night before, I topped off all the batteries to 100%, and then we went out and practiced twice. So that means we discharged the battery a little bit to like 90% or something. That's perfect. That's where I want it. I don't like going out, especially for like kind of sprint races like this. I don't want it fully charged Reason being is because when we let off and it regens, it may make that BMS angry, and it could overcharge the battery, and then the battery the bike will die. All right, I don't want something like that happens, because just think about the start, right? We take off, you go, and then you go into the first corner. All right, yeah, we let off the throttle, and then it starts charging the battery because of the regen, and then it might just die. All right, so if your battery's at like 90%, chances are it won't do that. All right, that's what I don't want to happen, and it didn't happen because I kept it at 90%. All right, so we swap the batteries, boom. All right, we go back to pre-grid. All the bikes are still there. Whoo! All right, we made it there in time. They send us back out to race. We do a warm-up lap again. So we just I take it real easy. This is your time to let the bike cool down, Hades Mega. So the good thing about back-to-back races is that you're already warmed up. All right, you know, you kind of get jittery before a race or nervous and stuff. Well, all of that is you just finished a race and your blood is still pumping. You're still in race mode. All right, that's the good thing about back-to-back races. You and the bike are ready to race, right? Specifically the tires. The tires are good and hot. All right, we did have the bike on tire warmers before the race, but we know, like, I know the grip, how much we can push the bike already, because we were out there ripping it already. Okay, so yeah, we go grid. Remember, we're 9th place. All right, so we grid 9. That's just only one position less than the last time we were out there. All right, boom, we go, and then like I get a decent takeoff. All right, I think are probably in the middle. We're like in the middle of the pack somewhere. I get kind of forced to the outside a little bit, and then so my buddy Jeremy and Colin are out there. Yeah. So we're going into turn 2, the first turn. All right, and it's Colin, Jeremy, and then me on the outside, and then I just watched the video just now. Colin does something. All right, he hits the front brake, and I think the front washes out, and the bike whips out under him, and it takes Jeremy out. All right, yeah, it takes Jeremy out, and like I'm kind of next to Jeremy, and Jeremy goes down, and I have to like slow down a little bit and go around him, and then go. It was pretty nuts. All right, so immediately Colin, Jeremy, boom, they're down. All right, and they're like, all right, here we go. Took Jeremy out. So I'm kind of got stuck in the back a little bit. Oh wait, I got stuck behind David. 474 Desjardins. All right, I think he was wearing like a black armor suit or something. I think he was riding a 150R. I got stuck behind him and Jay Jacobson on the 44 bike. All right, so it was him and I. So I think I spent about probably 2 or 3 laps trying to pass the 47-4 bike. All right, the guy that was wearing all black, and it was so frustrating. He had a 150R, so it was pretty fast, and so when he got on it and I got on it, you know, I would be on him, you know, but I wouldn't be gaining on him. I couldn't just brap him, you know. I was want to say. But he wasn't very fast on the corners. That's why I remember he would slow down a lot on the corners. I would catch up a whole lot, and then when I think I could get on it and maybe try to pass him, he would just take off. I was like, oh damn it, so fast. And I did that for about 2. I was battling him for about like 2-3 laps, and then I think he went wide on one of the corner. I think it was turn 4 or something, and I went inside. I cut him off, and you know, he was behind me, and so I was behind Jay Jacobson. All right, he was riding a 150R, also a brand new one, by the way. He said he bought a brand. I talked to him before the race, and I was following him the rest of the race. All right, and I could not pass him. These guys rode pretty good. All right, they're no joke, man. He was riding a 150R, and he rode it pretty good. But I was able to stick on his tail like the whole time. But I couldn't. I was gonna try to make a move on the last lap, and I couldn't do it. Right, I was just right on his tail. All right, and then Jeremy, all right, remember the guy who went down behind us? He'd already caught up to us, and he was behind us. I could hear his bike behind me, but he wasn't able to pass us. So that gave us a 9th place finish. Yeah, we finished 9th again. That's crazy, right? We're in the same position we did in the practice. So so there you go. I was 9th place behind Jay Jacobson. All right. Oh yeah, we got passed by the 199 bike, Dylan Franco, when I was battling with the black bike, the 474 bike, early in the race. Yeah, Franco passed us, and then he passed the guy in front of me, and then, yeah, he was that was pretty spectacular, I just want to say. And then he passed Jacobson also. So, and we're just out here in the middle of the pack battling it out. All right. So that's the end of the heat race. Remember, the heat race doesn't count. You know, it's kind of like a practice race. It's for the main event, all right? And then so later on in the day, we get to the main event. All right, main event time. So if you remember correctly, for 65 GP, we got 2nd place for the heat race. So guess what? We get to line up on 2nd place in the front this time, all right? So now I get an even better advantage for the takeoff. So yeah, that's the thing I've noticed about the 65s. They don't take off very fast, all right? I think it's a very hard bike to take off with because it's a teeny tiny little bike, guys. It's smaller. It's smaller than a Soron, right? It's small. It's got a shorter wheelbase than a Soron. It's got these teeny tiny little tires, and it's only got 65cc 2-stroke, so it doesn't have a lot of torque like a 4-stroke. So launching it is very difficult, and then like yeah, you risk looping your bike also. All right. I don't know. I've never ridden one before, so I got to ride one once. All right, and I was impressed by how fast it was when it got up to speed. Okay, so that's the key word. When it gets up to speed, it takes a little while for it to get in the power band. So the light B is always in the power band. All right, the torque curve is like pretty flat. You know, I was going to say I have the phase current settings jacked up all the way, so it's going to give me all the power like in the beginning and at the end. This thing I got it all the way up there. Okay, and so red light goes off. Boom, we take off. And I'm in first, all right. I was able to pass Mark, all right. And then we go into the turn 1, and then he's still behind us, but he's behind us and he's trying to catch up. I can hear him. He's right behind us, and we're going around the corner. Every time we get to the corner, I hear him. He gets closer and closer, and then when I can like twist the throttle wide open, we just take off and we gap him a little bit, all right. And it's kind of like the same thing until we get to the end of the first lap. Going into chicanes, I think I left the inside open a little bit. There's like a sweeper turn that's off camber, and you can't go really fast on it, all right. But on a 65, you can go pretty fast on it. And so he swooped in behind me, and I think we were probably neck and neck. We were side by side when he came out, and then
he's right behind me. Ah, he got me.
And then you have to take a wide line going into the chicane. So I could have stuffed him, you know. I could have parked my bike in front of him, and he would have to slow down. But that's kind of like a dick maneuver. So what I did is I let off, and because he was already kind of going to gain on me, so I let off and I got behind him, and I tried to kind of like draft him, and then we get to the straight, and he gets on the throttle, he gets on the pipe, and we're like neck and neck. Like I'm not pulling on him anymore because the 65 is in the power band. All right, what I find out is these 65s are fast when they get going. All right. And then it was the same story as the last race. All right, except this was 8 laps this time. So after the first lap, he'd already passed me. Going into the turn, I was kind of with him, and he would just kind of just pull away, keep on pulling away a little bit at a time until he was like probably by the end of the race he was like half a lap ahead of me, man. He was no joke. He was fast, all right. His fastest lap time, guys, was 58 seconds. All right. My fastest lap time was 1 minute, all right, 1 minute dot 632. So he's a legit like 2 seconds faster than me, okay. No doubt about it, all right. If we could have kept him, if I could have somehow kept him behind us without him passing me, you know, we might have had a chance. But he just snuck in there, you know, and got me. All right. But I couldn't get him back. So, you know, hats off to you, Mark. You're an incredible rider. Okay. And then so there was a Mia and Andrew Berner behind me. All right. I think Mia is on a KX65 and Andrew was on a Kaio. And all I remember is every lap they seem to be closing the gap. They're catching up to me. And so one thing I was noticing is the light speed was slower. It was getting slower and slower throughout the race. I'm like, what happened? I'm like, how come the bike doesn't seem as fast as it was before? I'll spoil it for you. The next day I found out my bike was on eco mode. All right, so I think I somehow hit the button and put it into eco mode. Maybe when I was changing the battery, I put it in eco mode. I'm not sure, man. But yeah, so anyway, yeah, so also with the batteries, I had topped off the batteries a little bit, all right, with the charger, just a little bit to like 90% before the main race, all right, and then boom. So yeah, I'm looking back. So I take a glance back sometimes. So when we get the hairpin turn on, and I see them, they're like right there, Mia and Andrew. They're battling it out again. The KX and the Kaio are battling it out, and you know, I think that kid is really fast because he's really lightweight on the Kaio. So, lightweight, you know, lightweight machine with the lightweight rider makes a fast. It's a fast combination, is what I'll say, guys. All right, I'm an adult riding a mini bike. That doesn't help for the power to weight ratio, is what I say. Okay, but hey, we were the adults. We were leading the pack. So what can we say? So after 8 laps. The race finishes and they didn't catch me. All right, they were getting pretty close. All right, they're probably like 1 or 2 seconds away from me, and they could have had me. But yeah, I did notice the bike was getting slower and slower. All right, and I think it's because I hit the eco mode somehow, or maybe somebody was messing with my bike or something. I don't know, man. So that's one of the things you have to do before the race, Marlon, is make sure it's in sport mode, all right, or else the bike, you're gonna wonder why the bike is so slow, type of thing. All right, maybe in the middle of the race I might have put it in eco mode somehow accidentally. All right, yeah, I'm not sure on that one. But anyway, so we go on to the main race. Oh yeah, we go. So we finished second. Hooray! That's like a legit win. All right, good. Give yourself a pat on the back. You know, you got on the podium, Hades Omega, finally. I think I really earned that one, right? Yeah, you should be happy, Hades Omega. So yeah, we got second place in that race again. And then so I exit the track, and then we swap the battery again, just like last time. No problem. Maybe that's when I might have hit the button into eco mode or whatever. Maybe it was going slower in the main race for the asphalt. So we line up with Asphalt Mini, we go back around again. And then so we line up 9th, all right? So we line up 9th, all right? And then so we're on the grid. Okay, so it's the main race, all right? The Asphalt Mini main race. So we did pretty good on the 65 GP race. And yeah, so we go out and we grid. I think during the warm-out lap, I'm feeling like, hey, that's weird. How does the bike feel slower? It feels slower than it did earlier today. I think maybe... I was thinking the bike was overheating, all right? So maybe if the bike overheats, it might slow it down a little bit to keep it from getting too hot, type of thing. But that wasn't the case, all right? Like I said, I'll spoil it for you now. I didn't find this out until the next day, all right? The bike was in eco mode, all right? I had somehow, maybe when I swapped the battery, I had put it in eco mode, all right? And I immediately noticed, like, the bike doesn't feel as peppy as it used to be, all right? So the eco mode on my bike is tuned. It's tuned for a little bit less power than things. So it's almost got the same amount of power. It's probably got like 20% less power than the sport mode, and yeah, so it's got 20% power less than the sport mode, is what I'm gonna say. All right, and the throttle is a lot slower, all right? It doesn't ramp up as quick in the eco mode, which is bad for this kind of racing because we need the power like right away, okay? We need like gobs of power, all right? That's how we're able to keep up with these 150Rs. All right, so yeah, I'm already noticing, hey, the bike is slowing down. I think it's overheating, all right? But that wasn't the case, all right? Like I mentioned, it was in eco mode. So we take off, boom, all right? And then like we're like in the middle of the pack again. I think I think we were behind that Jacobson guy on the 44 bike again. All right, the red bike, and then Jeremy passes us. Yeah, I think Jeremy passed us on the first lap, and then he was gone after that. And then I was behind Jacobson, and then I was behind them for like a good like 2 or 3 laps. And I think that the bike slipped out or something. And I was telling myself during the race, like, why does the bike feel so slow? I can't keep up with them anymore. That little bit of power that we didn't have made a huge difference. Huge, just a little bit of horsepower makes a big difference. All right, guys. And that was my demise in this race. Okay. Yeah, so I was just behind Jacobson for a while. We were catching up. We were actually doing pretty good, sticking on him, even in eco mode, is what I'll say. I think I would catch up to him at the first turn after the long straight. He'd kind of like pull away a little bit, then I would catch up a whole lot because I guess I was late braking. I was braking later than him, right, and going faster in the turn and pitching it. The Light B actually is handling pretty good compared to these 150Rs, right? But like I said, with the right rider, you know, it's tough, man. And then I think okay, yeah. About the third lap, I hear a bike right behind me, man. He's breathing down my neck, all right. And then I'm behind Jacobson. I think around the sweeper I get taken out again, man. I must have left the inside open or something. So I just have to remember, don't leave the inside of that turn open. I know you have to go slower to take the inside, but like if you leave the inside open, they're gonna take you. So that's one thing Hades Omega has to remember, all right, in this track. It seems to be a reoccurring theme that I get past on the sweeper turn that's off camber. I think it's turn 8 or something, 7 or 8 or something. Yeah, and the grip is like not good there. Yeah, you could go sliding sometimes if you're not careful, type of thing. All right, but anyway. Yeah, so Colin passes me in that sweeper turn, all right? And then so it's Colin and Jacobson behind me, and I think Colin gets in front of Jacobson, and then like I'm behind them, and they seem to be pulling away now. So, I'm trying to give myself a little more space, so maybe I can attack somewhere, you know, but they just keep on pulling away, and then I think I mess up, and then I hear another bike behind me, all right? And it's this guy, it's the guy in the black, Desjardins, all right, for the 474 bike. He was breathing down my neck now. Like, I got another 150R freaking out my tail. They're just hunting me down like freaking a pack of wild dogs type of thing. Okay, so that's what I felt like. I was getting hunted, all right, by all these freaking 150Rs, man. But yeah, so this is the guy that I passed in the last race, all right, guys. The guy wearing all black to get to Jacobson, all right, to get to Jacobson. That's what I want to say. And then yeah, I think I messed up. I went wide into the first turn. Coming out of the first turn, I went wide, and then he got me. He passed me on the inside, and then I was stuck behind him the rest of the race. And I just didn't have the power to pass him. Right. So that little bit of power, I think a bike is tuned for 210 amps. Was enough to like not enough power to keep up with the 150Rs. Right. So I'm already scratching my head. I was like, why does the bike feel so slow? And also another thing I noticed about the bike is it's making a lot of noise. All right. So I think just all that racing and stuff, it dried the chain and stuff. The chain didn't have any kind of lube on it anymore, and it was making a lot of noise. So I fixed it by lubing the chain. All right. I checked the chain. I checked the tension and everything. I checked the tension every night. And it was fine. It was fine the whole weekend. All right. So I just sprayed it with lube, and it got quiet again. So I guess. That's one of the things we got to do. We just got to remember, like, maybe that's one of the maintenance things you got to do after every like race. Just shoot some lube on the chain so you know it doesn't make that awful noises, man. I think it's the primary drive making that noise. Okay, so in that race we finished 12th. All right, we went from 9th to 12th, and we were behind the Desjardins, okay, and the 474 bike. Yeah, I had some good battles with those guys. I have to say it's unfortunate we've had it. I didn't know we had it in eco mode, right? So, all right. So, yeah. So the next day, all right. Next day, we're only racing one race this time, all right. It's Adult Mini Supermoto, all right. That's my favorite race, all right. And that's like, you know, it's same class, it's the same as the asphalt mini race that I just talked about, all right, that we got 12th place in, but there's a dirt section in it this time, all right. There's a little less, fewer people that showed up that day, but there were still a good amount of people on the grid, all right. And so I knew, like, yeah, you better go to practice, Merlin, and you better try to get the best times. So my strategy was to, so before it was practice, I would just go out there and play around, you know. I try to just race with everybody. I try to pass everybody and do all this stuff. But if it's a qualifying, you don't want to do that, all right? You don't want to come into contact with, you don't want to be racing anyone. You're racing yourself, all right? You want to get the fastest time so you can get the best time on the grid, all right? Get pole position, right? And yeah, so my strategy was to let everybody go, all right? I let everybody go. I waited until maybe they're almost at the first turn, and then I take off a little bit slow. I know the first lap, we're not really getting timed anyways because you haven't passed the timing thing, and it's not a hot lap, all right? You got to do a good hot lap. So my goal was to get at least one good lap in, all right? And then, and yeah, so they take off, and then I remember there's some guys really slow, going really slow, and I had to pass them still, so it kind of messed up my time. But I got a good two laps in, all right? And we did the dirt section. Oh yeah, so another thing, the night before they wanted you to pay like $35 so you can practice on the dirt for the dirt section, and I didn't do it, all right? I didn't want to pay the $35. I was like, all right, I'll just do the practice in the morning, and we'll wing it, all right? That'll be our practice, all right? Because it's already included in the race fees, right? And also they made me pay an extra $25 because. And I don't know why they do this. All right, I know I don't want to be like griping a whole lot, but so the race is $50. All right, for the first race is $50. Then any race after that is $25. So let's say you do the first race and you sign up for 2 more races. That's like $100, right? So 3 races for $100. But then the next day when I went to go get my transponder, they wanted me to pay another $25. Because it's a different day, but I paid everything all at once. That's the reason I did it, so I can get that discount. And they said, no, you don't get a discount for the second day. It's like another thing. You're supposed to pay another $50. I was like, so they took another $25 from me. I was like, oh, what the heck, guys? They could have just comped me it, man. That's what I say. It's like, oh, we messed up. You know what? You don't have to, don't worry about it this time, you know, type of thing. But yeah, that kind of irks me out. That's supposed to be an incentive to get you to do more races, is to give you a discount after like the first race, all right? So maybe I'm not gonna do as many races next time because I don't freaking have money to do it, you know? Racing is expensive, dude, I'm telling you, and it adds up. They keep on all these fees and stuff, then they want $35 for their practice. So if they'd got me for the $35 and the $25, the extra $25, I would be short like $55, $60, right? Yeah. So I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm already kind of like peeved, you know. Next time I think I'm just gonna do 2 races because I don't have money to be going out and doing all these races. Is what I'll say. So yeah, we go out for practice. Hades Meg is trying to get a good lap time in. And then so yeah, I noticed the bike is slow. The bike is still slow. I was like, what's going on, man? Like I thought before that the bike was slow because it was overheating, all right? So I was like, yeah, okay, it makes sense. We did back-to-back races, and they were longer this time, right? Instead of doing 12 laps, we did 16 laps because it was 8 and 8, right? Well, the thing is, it was an eco mode, all right? So I think, so Hampton shows up. I raced Hampton at the Virginia City Grand Prix, and I told him like, hey, yeah, why don't you come down and watch us race? You know, you can check it out. You can hang out, and you can see the light be on the track and stuff. And I noticed when I was swapping the when I'm working on the bike, I think I put the tire warmers on the bike, I noticed, hey, it's an eco mode. When did I put it in eco mode? I don't remember. So that's when I realized I was in eco mode. That's why the bike felt so slow in the morning. Okay, so for practice, I came in 6th place, all right? 6 out of 12 riders, so in the middle of the pack. In eco mode, by the way. I got 1 minute and 37 seconds, all right? The best time was 1 minute and 30 seconds by Nick Sisk, okay? Yeah, those two guys in the front, they're really fast, all right, and it's gonna come into play. So what else? Yeah, so the dirt section. I had never ridden that dirt section before, and so I had to learn where. So when you're riding in these dirt sections, you got to find places to pass. All right. So sometimes there's going to be traffic in front of you. You got to change your line. You got to do something that you know thing. So you got to try multiple lines and stuff. All right. And so that's what I was trying. I was trying to find the fastest line to get through everything and alternate lines. So just in case I have to go a different route to pass somebody. All right. And that's the way they kind of had the course set up. Okay, so the thing about this dirt section is it has a lot of berms. A lot of berms. It's like a motocross berms, all right? You just rail the berms pretty much. But Hayes Mega is, I do a lot of flat tracking now, all right? I've always kind of always take the flat track. So you can either rail the berm or go inside and flat track it where it's flat, all right? Just slide the bike around the corner, take a tighter line, and then, but it is kind of slower because you can't use the berm to stabilize yourself and get slingshot you out of the turn, right? But I knew, like, yeah, if most people are gonna take the berm, we'll take the inside, all right? So, and if it's the other way, they take the inside and we can take the berm, all right? So we tried different things, all right? So I think by the end of practice, I kind of got it down. I figured it out already. I think we got, I don't remember how many laps we did, but we did 4 laps, okay? That's what we did, 4 laps. And our best time was 1:37. All right. The best time was 1:30 by Nick Sisk. Okay, so we're like 7 seconds slower than the leader. Okay. Okay. Anyway, I found out that yeah, the bike is in the eco mode, so I put it back in the sport mode. I'm not sure. Later in the day, I looked at the bike again, and it was in eco mode again. So maybe it's either somebody's messing with my bike, they're coming up to my bike in the pits and they're pressing the eco mode button so my bike is slower, you know, or I'm just accidentally pressing it, all right, somehow. I think what I need to do, I think what we might do for the next Supermoto race is I'm going to tape down the sport mode button, all right? Keep it in sport mode all the time, all right? So I'm going to put a piece of electrical tape over the sport mode button so it stays down, all right? So I don't accidentally flick it, all right? That's not to say, like, maybe, you know, if I hit it, it might break the tape and come out too, but, well, that will be less likely to happen if I tape it. So that is there's some improve right there. Tape the sport mode button down, Merlin, so it doesn't, so somebody can't mess with it, all right? And make sure you check it before every race. Before every race, that's one of the things you got to check. Take the tire warmers off, put your gloves, put your helmet on, turn the bike on, make sure it's in sport mode, all right? That's one of the checks that you have, pre-ride check, right, is what they call it. That's one of the pre-ride checks that you got to do. Put it in sport mode before you're going to race, right? Because in eco mode, the bike is still pretty fast, but it's not as fast, okay, guys? Okay, so here we go. Heat race comes along. And the weather is kind of like, yeah, okay, so yeah, this is the interesting thing about this race. Halfway through this race, it rained a little bit, all right, and it got a little slippery, is what I want to say, all right? So everybody slowed down is what I noticed, all right? So adult mini heat race, yeah, so we were in 6th this time, and so boom, I haul shot a bunch of the bikes in the beginning of the race, and I'm behind Dean and the first 2 riders, Cameron Poe and Nick Sisk. Okay, those are the 2 fastest guys. All right, and yeah, so I was behind them like the whole time. All right, I got to follow. So for the whole 6 laps, I was following Dean the whole time. All right, Dean Rabidou, and I've been racing with Dean for a long time, like 2 years. I've been racing him. All right, and this kid, he gets better every time I see him. Every time he gets faster and faster and faster. Right? He keeps on breaking his bikes though. He's that fast, all right. And yeah, all I remember is when we were going into the dirt section, I would see him. He would just rail those berms and stuff. He would kick up a little rooster tail. It was amazing watching him ride, is what I say, all right. It's amazing in watching him ride in third person and watching him right behind him. It's a story, all right. And then so we couldn't keep up with the first 2 guys. And that's how I finished. I finished in 4th, okay. And oh yeah. So, and I remember halfway through the race, it started raining a little bit. Right, it didn't rain really hard, but it was enough to get the pavement a little wet, and we're slipping and sliding a lot. All right. So pretty much the second half of the race, I was going half throttle through the corners and stuff already. So I was taking it easy because it was like rear riding on freaking ice, you know, type of thing. All right. So in that race we finished 4th. My best lap time was 1:36. Dean's best lap time was 1:36 also. So yeah, I was on Dean's tail the whole time. All right. I think towards the end of the race he pulled away from me a little bit, and then Jeremy was like 10 seconds behind me. All right. So that's who was behind me, Jeremy, and then there's a Eric Jacobson guy on the. Oh, that's Jay Jacobson's son. All right. That was his son on the 150R. All right. So we had a comfortable lead. Yeah, we had a comfortable position in the 4th place, all right? But 4th place isn't the podium, right? It's big, all right? All right, so actually it starts raining after our race. No. When the Open Pro goes out for their heat race, it rains a lot, and the whole track is wet, all right? It's all shiny and stuff, and not good conditions to race. All right, so they make the decision. It may rain more the rest of the day, so they decide we're going to shorten the races. All right, so instead of having, so the heat races are 6, the main races are 8. So we shortened the main race from 8 to 5. All right, so it's 5 laps now. So it's actually shorter than the heat race. So it's like a sprint race now. All right. So here's where the drama starts, guys. So I'm a real good buddy with Jeremy, man. But here's what happens. Yeah, so we take off, all right? So I'm in 4th. I got a better position in this race, all right? And I think, yeah, I'm in 4th, and boom, so we go. And I whole shot the 2nd and 3rd guy, all right? The fast guys, Nick Sisk and Cameron Poe, all right? I was able to get in front of them, and it was me and Dean. Me and Dean were like, you know, side by side, and then Dean gets in front of me a little bit, and I'm following Dean again, all right? My little buddy Dean. We're always battling it out, as I say, all right? And then so yeah, but the 3rd and 4th are right behind us. All right, they're the fast guys. All right, the Nick Sisk and Cameron Poe. Yeah, they were right behind us. And then so we're battling it out. They're getting pretty. I think Nick Sisk gets in front of me before we get into the sweeper. I mess up or something, and he gets in front of me. And
I went wide. Now we gotta follow these guys into the dirt.
Then Cameron is right behind me, and he tries to pass me, but I block him, all right? I was able to get back on the throttle enough where, like, you know, he couldn't pass me. So I've already lost the position. Dean's like in the front, and then we got Nick and then we got Cameron behind. I'm in like a sandwich here. I feel like I got like hunted by a pack of wolves type of thing. Okay, so and then we go into the dirt, and then somehow Jeremy is like right beside me, and he's gonna try to pass. Before I go into the dirt, I go really fast, and then I brake really hard, so I can turn the bike really fast and get it sideways before I go into the dirt, because you don't want to go into the dirt straight up and then have to move it sideways. All right, you want to be leaning already while you're going into the dirt. All right, and then so I think I know what happened. Yeah, I think Jeremy. Yeah, so Jeremy tries to pass me on the inside. There's a berm on the left, like a tiny berm that you can take, and then just like a kind of like, you know, flat kind of loose gravel on the right. He tries to pass me on the right, and then I think I leaned my bike. Yeah, so I didn't see him, but I kind of knew somebody was right beside me, and then so I leaned my bike. I must have leaned it into Jeremy, and I must have bumped him or something, or he brushed up against me or something, and then so our bikes get tangled up. All right, Jeremy goes down, but I don't go down. I manage to stay on my bike. Jeremy goes down, but his bike he gets tangled up. I think his handlebar is stuck on top of my rear wheel, and it broke my rear fender off. That's why I don't have a rear fender on my bike, guys. Where is that thing? All right. Anyway, I couldn't find the fender, guys. I took a picture of it when it broke off, though. Check it out. Yeah. Okay. So Jeremy had busted my rear fender out, and his handlebar is like resting on top of my rear wheel. And I can't get the bike to go, all right, because this bike is like on top of my rear wheel. it's got like a parking brake on me, and so I had to wait for Jeremy to get up and get his bike off of my bike, and then off we go.
Dude! Oh, my fender broke off!
And so a bunch of people have passed us, is what happened. So the first lap, all this freaking chaos and drama started. What Jeremy should have done is he should have let me go into the dirt first. All right, so he tried to make a pass, and then he hit me. So this is what I think it happened. I'm 100% sure I was in front of him when I came in. All right, and then he tried to go for a pass right next to me, and he took me out while he tried to do that, unfortunately. And he broke my rear fender. Again, that's like the second fender I've broken in like 2 months, man. These hugger fenders, man, everyone just wants to break them off of my bike, man. I like to have it on there though, man. Anyway, so yeah, we lose a bunch of positions, all right? We went from third to like almost last, all right? So, and then I have to get back in the game, all right, guys? Okay, so here's what happens. All right, so Jeremy got off of me, and I get to get back in the dirt section. I try my best to get through the dirt section, and what happens? I'm behind Tom Lynn, all right? I'm behind Tom Lynn in a TTR 125, all right? So he's riding a TTR 125. I know TTR 125 is not that fast of a bike, so I was like, oh, here we go. I'm gonna hunt down this TTR 125. However, he made it very difficult. Okay, I was amazed. He was Tom Lynn, number 17. I was amazed how fast he was on that TTR 125. I would catch up to him with the power of the light, because remember, we're in sport mode now, all right? Yeah, we're in sport mode now, and we got a lot of power really fast now, and he was right behind it. I was right behind him, and I just, we would be in the corner at the same time. His corner speeds was good, yeah. So that's where he would get me in the corners. Like, he would pull away. He would pull away, or we wouldn't go change any positions at all in the corners. I couldn't gain on him in the corners. It was pretty amazing watching him ride that TTR, because TTR is not a fast bike, guys. Okay. On a Supermoto track, it's not. Anyways, a TTR 125 is about as fast as a stock Sauron, all right? A stock Sauron, all right? This Sauron is about 3 times as fast as a stock Sauron, and he was making it hard for me to pass him, right? But eventually, I think on one of the straights, when we pulled out of a corner, I got him. I was able to pass him. I just brapped him, all right? I used the amazing power of the light beam to pass him, and then. So I was behind this guy Paul on the number 27 bike. It was a white 150R, and yeah, he rode pretty good. He was kind of slow in the corners. That's what I remember. Yeah, I would catch him in the corners, and then he would just that 150R power. He would just take off, and then I wouldn't be able to gain on him anymore. And then we did that for a couple laps, and then I was finally able to pass him. All right. But he made it pretty difficult too. But it was pretty fun. It was pretty fun passing those 2 bikes to try to get back up there. And so after the end of that race, I wound up being 4th. All right, I came in 4th with a time of I was 42 seconds behind the leader, Dean Rabideau. All right, so Dean won that race. He got 1st place. Dean got 1st place. Nick Sisk got 2nd place. Cameron Poe got 3rd place, and I got 4th place. All right. I would have liked to battle Cameron and Nick in the dirt, all right, but I didn't. Jeremy denied me that chance. Thanks, Jeremy. All right, Jeremy's my buddy, though. It's cool. Me and Jeremy race all the time, and he should have. What he should have done is stay behind me, and then we could have battled it out in the dirt, all right. But he chose to take that. He chose to take that pass, and then he hit me. So and we got all tangled up. And I lost my chance to battle for the podium. Basically, I almost got, yeah. So I think two bikes passed me, 2 or 3 bikes. There might be somebody I'm missing. Just watch the video. But yeah, I passed 2 bikes to get back up to the 4th position, and then that was it. They were just way ahead of me, man. The next guy was 6 seconds ahead of me. All right, yeah, they were pretty far. That was at Nick and Cameron. It would have been nice to see how good they were in the dirt, is what I want to say. They're probably okay. I'm not gonna lie. I think last year I raced them too. I remember racing them also, and they did really good. But that's the mark of a good Supermoto rider. You got to be good on the pavement and off the pavement too. All right. So I didn't get a chance to see how good they were in the dirt, unfortunately. But that's what Hayes Mega says. The dirt is the great equalizer. All right. That's where Hayes Mega can make it up. All right. Because I'm probably a little bit better dirt rider than your average riders, I want to say. Okay. I'm not going to say I'm an awesome dirt rider, but I try. Anyway, we finished 4th in that race. Woohoo. I got booted off the podium. But I had a whole lot of fun trying to battle my way to 4th. And